Hello there and welcome. You're back. We're back. Ask a Lawyer here on CP24. Good to get it going for another week, another 30 minutes to educate you even further on your workplace rights and employment laws. That is what we do. I'm John Scholes. I am just the talking head and the host. The real brains on your screen momentarily. That Lior Samfiru, employment lawyer at EmploymentLawyer.ca. Got a lot to cover on the show today. We'll get to some phone calls as well, some emails, and always a main topic, your employer's duty to accommodate. What does that mean? It's an important one, so stick around for that in the second segment. We'll cover that off for sure with Lior, and of course lots of other things. Throughout the show, I'll give you contact information. Reach out to Lior and his team anytime. Starting with, how about the phone number? 1-855-821-5900. Ask at EmploymentLawyer.ca is how that goes. Again, we'll give it out throughout the show, but lots to get to, Lior, so we'll bust into it with Case of the Day, pal. What is happening with you? There he is. How are you, pal?
Hey, John. Great to be here, of course. And employment law, want to cover as much as we can in this 30 minutes. There's so much to talk about when it comes to workplace rights. We can talk about wrongful dismissal. We can talk about severance packages. We can talk about changes to your job, a constructive dismissal, human rights violations, harassment, bullying, you name it, all those topics. But we're going to try to fit in as much as we can here. If we don't cover everything you want to know about, the good news is I'm not going anywhere. My team is not going anywhere. You can always reach out to us so we can have a private discussion about your specific situation and give you that answers and the help that you need. There's solutions, and the only thing that's stopping you from getting those solutions and help is you not picking up the phone. So do that. Make sure you stand up for your rights. It's so important. And the case of the day is actually a perfect example of how a little help when it comes to employment law can go a very long way. I spoke with a lady that's worked for the same employer for about 7.5 years, never had an issue, everything was fine. Well, except recently she got a brand new manager, and this manager, I'm sorry to use this word, but was a jerk. Didn't treat her properly, was demeaning, belittling, completely unreasonable, rude, you name it, and this impacted her health. She was dying to just quit there. She didn't want to work there anymore. Luckily, before she did anything, she called me. She told me about her situation, and we put a plan of action into place. And here's what we did. First thing we did is we made sure that we had some evidence against this bad manager. So there were some recordings that she took about conversations that they had. There were emails that were sent confirming discussions. We built up a case against him with the real facts, the real evidence, so that he couldn't deny it. Once she had that, once we built out that evidence, she approached the HR director, told him about what's going on there, and said, please deal with this. She didn't hear anything, but 5 days only later, this manager, the bad manager, was let go. Problem solved. This employer did everything it was supposed to. It took it seriously. It dealt with the problem and eliminated it. And by the way, that's what your employer has to do if you're dealing with bullying, with harassment, with a poison work environment. If you tell your employer, they have to investigate. They have to take it seriously. They can't ignore it. They can't leave it alone. They must do something. This employer did. But if this lady would have simply quit, if she would have just walked away from the job, unfortunately, this issue for her would have been outstanding. We resolved it. It's good news here. Same with you at home. You don't have to just be a victim of bullying. There's things that you can do. You have rights. And a good place to start always is just giving me a call.
Lior, quickly, I mean, that happened and went down the right way as it should have. But what happened if it went the other way? What if he didn't get fired and they fired her? Then what would have happened?
It would have been completely illegal. That would be a violation of several statutes. You cannot be let go because you complain about harassment. You cannot be let go because you tell your employer, I have a problem I need you to deal with. That is inappropriate. You have the right to complain. You have the right to tell them what's going on. And even if it turns out that you cannot prove your allegations, you still cannot be punished. So that would have been illegal. I would have made sure that that employer would have paid for it. Hopefully they knew better, but same with you. You should know that if you're dealing with harassment, you can't be punished for that. You can't be punished for telling your boss, your employer. And I'm always happy to chat to you about the best way to approach the situation.
All right, we got a few minutes to go here before we get into a break, Lior, so let's get into a phone call from one of our radio shows. Listen up, here it comes.
The company that I had been laid off from terminated my employment via email. The email stated that we've decided to not fill your position. So I was given my vacation pay plus pay in lieu, a little bit of less than a week severance. And I'm wondering, I was only with the company for about 7-8 months, but it seems to be a little bit on the low side.
He would be right. What do you think?
He would be absolutely right. Completely correct. Now, let's be very clear. The fact that he was let go may be unfair, maybe not right, may have been a good employee. But from a legal standpoint, he can be let go as long as severance is paid. Now, here, a lot of people are going to say, well, he worked for 7 or 8 months. He's not going to get anything. If they give him a week's pay, he's a lucky guy. No, wrong. Short service employees like this person are actually treated disproportionately better than long service employees. So just because he worked for a few months does not mean he only gets a week's severance. I'm going to show you how much severance he's owed, and I'm going to show you how you can find out for yourself. We're going to go and use our severance calculator tool. You'll find that at EmploymentLawyer.ca, and let's see what the real severance amount is. So this person has been there for 8 months in a professional role at the age of 49. Company says 1 week, maybe, whatever, we'll give that to you. No. You see there, he's owed as much as 4 months. Months, not weeks. Months of severance. 3 to 4 months, that's what he's owed. So short service employees, yes, you guys also get severance measured in months. Always check out EmploymentLawyer.ca. Use the severance calculator if you want to know what the real severance amount should be.
All right, good start as always, Lior. We'll pop into that short break here and get back into our main topic, your employer's duty to accommodate. That is on the other side as we continue Ask a Lawyer right here on CP24. Don't go anywhere.
Lost your job? Disability denied? Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Each week, experts from EmploymentLawyer.ca answer your questions. Visit cp24.com/askalawyer and watch Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on CP24.
Okay, welcome back. Ask a Lawyer, CP24. John Scholes here, and Lior Samfiru, of course, there as well. Employment Lawyer at EmploymentLawyer.ca. Always reach out. Any questions beyond the half hour we do here every week. And you can do it with the phone number right there, 1-855-821-5900. Ask at EmploymentLawyer.ca. And scan that QR code while it's up on your screen on the right, and we'll pull it up a little while in the next segment for sure. Okay, main topic time, pal. I know you love this one. It's a topic a lot of people don't know a ton about. That's why we cover it every couple months here, and that is the duty to accommodate, your employer's duty to accommodate. First of all, what is it? And give me some examples of accommodations we might see, Lior. What do you think?
So the duty to accommodate is the legal obligation that employers have to make changes in the workplace to provide support in order to reduce discrimination based on certain prohibited grounds. So the duty to accommodate applies to grounds that are covered by human rights legislation like age, disability, race, religion, and it's the obligation to provide support in those areas. A common one may be modified duties or modified hours if you have a medical condition or a disability. Your employer may have to accommodate that. That obligation is important. Another duty to accommodate may be in the context of family and family responsibility. You may have a childcare obligation that you can only meet with support from your employer. Maybe you need to start later or leave earlier. Or that duty to accommodate says your employer must provide you with that support. Those are just a couple of common examples. Probably, as I said, the most common example of the duty to accommodate is to accommodate medical restrictions, which is, again, a very important and strict duty, but it goes beyond just that, John.
If I'm looking at this from an employer's standpoint, I mean, there's got to be a threshold. How far do I have to go? Is it, buying a nice ergonomic chair? Do I have to install a whole new elevator with, climate control and neon lights if it's requested? I mean, how far does an employer have to go, really?
Well, the simple answer is it depends.
Right.
But I want you to remember the duty to accommodate is a strict duty, and an employer has to accommodate even if it's difficult, even if it's costly. Okay, an employer has to do it. It's expected that your employer may have some difficulties doing it and still is required to do it. We call this accommodation to the point of undue hardship. What that means is, unless it's so over the top, so difficult, then maybe the employer doesn't have to accommodate. But in most cases, the employer must accommodate. They can't say, well, that's going to cost money. We're not going to do that. They can't say, well, this is going to upset other employees, so we're not going to do that. We don't want to give you modified duties because everyone else is going to want them. That's not a valid excuse. They still have to provide it. Too many times, John, I see employers saying, oh gosh, no, that's just too much. That's too much accommodation. We are not going to go that far. Well, again, human rights legislation says you have to go that far. If your employer won't accommodate you, it's very likely that they're breaching human rights rules. You have to call me because that's not right.
So there, well, you touched on it there, Lior. As an employee, what do you do if you're not going to be accommodated? Or even worse, they let you go because you've asked for some accommodation?
First of all, to let an employee go because they need accommodation. So employer, I need to be able to come in late because I have to take my child to daycare. We're letting you go because of it. Illegal. Can't happen. Human rights violation, a reprisal. Can't have that happen. Illegal. And an employer that does that will literally pay the consequences. In some cases, you can even get your job back with back pay, not legal. Now, if your employer won't accommodate you, or it's too difficult, well, here's one thing you can do. A letter from me all of a sudden opens the doors. All of a sudden, once they hear from me, it's not difficult to accommodate anymore. Now, yes, we can do it. So let me take a crack at it and let me get your employer to accommodate you. If they still refuse, the law is going to require them to pay compensation. There's going to be penalties. There's going to be human rights damages. Don't take no for an answer if you have a legitimate and a real need for accommodation. The law says, hey, employer, you must provide it.
And that is our main topic. We love covering those every week. More details about that and many more. EmploymentLawyer.ca, by the way, is a good website to use. Lior from the radio shows want to grab another phone call before we get into a break here, pal. Listen up. Here it comes.
When I was hired, I had a one-year contract. The one-year contract expired, and I continued to work there until April of last year. And just wondering what my status would have been, not like working for almost 5 years without a contract.
Good question. What do you think, pal?
Very common situation. You start by signing off a contract for 6 months, for 12 months, for some fixed period of time. That contract expires, your employer likes you, so they keep you on. Well, if you're on and you don't sign a new contract, that's good news. That means that now you're employed under an oral employment agreement, which is great. That's the best situation. You don't want to be under a 5 or 10-page written document. That document benefits the employer. So if you've gone beyond the expiry of your contract, now that means that you're employed under an oral contract, and that's important because if at some point then your employer lets you go, now you're a regular indefinite employee, they have to pay you your full severance. They can't rely on that old contract that expired. They have to pay your full severance. That could be as much as 24 months pay. So last word of advice here, if your contract expires and you continue working, don't put up your hand and tell your employer, hey, employer, my contract expired. I want another one. No. You should be happy to continue working without a written contract. Frankly, that's the best case scenario.
Okay, Lior, good stuff. We're going to give you a chance to take a bit of a break and heat up your coffee. We're going to switch gears momentarily on the other side. Get James Fireman handling the disability side of the firm. We're going to talk to him for a few minutes when we come back. Lots more Ask a Lawyer on the way here on CP24.
Lost your job? Disability denied? Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Each week, experts from EmploymentLawyer.ca answer your questions. Visit cp24.com/askalawyer and watch Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on CP24.
All right, welcome back to Ask a Lawyer. Disability law right now. I'm going to get our good pal James Fireman here, disability lawyer and partner at disabilityrights.ca. Reach out. Consultations will cost you nothing. There's your phone number, 1-855-821-5900. Ask at disabilityrights.ca as well. James, got a phone call on your way and an audio question as well, similar to the ones we get asked all the time. But first, tell us why we're here, pal. Welcome back.
Thanks, John. Well, much like Lior and his team does for you for employment law issues, my team is there whenever you have any issues that deal with disability insurance. Most people do not think about disability insurance until they need it, until they become disabled and can't work anymore. And when that happens, the experience is universally one of frustration and confusion. But there is some good news. Number one, wherever you are in the process, whether you're thinking about applying, if your claim is being adjudicated by your insurance company, if you're actually on claim and you're having an issue with something that your insurance company is asking you to do, or if they've cut off or denied your benefits and you're contemplating what the next steps are, we are here to help. You can call and get a consultation. And the other good news, John, is the consultation is 100% free.
Nice. As mentioned, phone call, James. Let's get to that now. Listen up and we'll answer it.
My husband was in a car accident and hasn't been able to work since. After nearly 2 years on long-term disability, his benefits were suddenly cut off right after he saw their insurance doctor. His own doctors say he still can't work because of mental health struggles, but the adjuster told him on the phone, "I'm not buying it." Yeah, what can we do now?
Well, we can certainly look at starting litigation in this case. And we see this often. The timing here is critical, that it was at that 2-year mark. 2 years into a long-term disability claim is an inflection point. During the first 2 years that you're entitled to benefits, there is a particular test. It's called the own occupation test. And that test is if you are disabled from your own occupation, then you're entitled to benefits under the policy. After 2 years, it changes to the any occupation test and becomes a little more difficult. It becomes whether you are disabled from any occupation that you're qualified for by training, education, or experience. And so in that scenario, the insurance company is going to look nearing that 2-year mark about whether there is something else you can do. And you can tell when they are gearing up to look at trying to cut off benefits by whether or not they're spending any money. And in this case, it's telling that the insurance company paid for an independent medical examiner, doctor, to assess this person and to write a medical legal report, undoubtedly to provide an opinion. And that they did in this case, that they spent money, is a pretty big sign that they're looking to try and cut off benefits. So I'm not terribly surprised. But how meaningful is that? Well, not terribly. If your own treating doctors are saying that you are still disabled from working, and the insurance company has a hired gun that's seen you one time for probably 1 or 2 hours, what do you think a judge is going to do if they're taking a look at the opinion of a treating doctor that's seen you dozens, maybe even hundreds of times over the years versus the opinion of a hired gun that's seen you once? They're going to rely on what that treating doctor has to say 99 times out of 100. So yeah, if your own doctors are saying that you can't work, regardless of what the insurance company's doctor is saying, there is absolutely something you can do about it.
Pardon me, I think we have time for a question, James. It's going to be an audio question. This is based on real questions you get every week at the firm, so listen up, let's get to it.
Do insurance adjusters have quotas? If so, how does that impact someone's long-term disability claim?
Good one.
It's an interesting question, and that undoubtedly varies from insurance company to insurance company. But whether or not there is a formal quota, in other words, how many people have you cut off or denied, whether or not that's something that's crystallized is not really the issue, because what we do know is that insurance adjusters are judged based on that, whether it is how many you've done or whether it's just an overall assessment of whether or not your claims tend to linger on claim and the insurance company is paying out more money, or whether you're cutting people off a lot quicker. It doesn't really matter. The reality is that insurance companies have an incentive. Insurance adjusters are all incentivized to try and cut off your claim as soon as possible, to deny benefits whenever they can. That's the reality of it. And so if you've been cut off or denied unfairly, as I just mentioned a moment ago, particularly when your treating doctors have said that you cannot work, give us a call, because there's absolutely something that you can do about it.
James, thank you very much. We've got to take a short pause. We're going to get right back in with Lior's back in here on the other side as we continue Ask a Lawyer on CP24.
Lost your job? Disability denied? Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Each week, experts from EmploymentLawyer.ca answer your questions. Visit cp24.com/askalawyer and watch Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on CP24.
welcome back to Ask a Lawyer, CP24. A couple minutes to go here. We'd like to wrap up this week's show with a phone call, Lior. And you want to reach out anytime on our radio shows. EmploymentLawyer.ca is how you do that. So I'll give you the contact information just prior. Right now, phone call 1-855-821-5900. Email would be ask@EmploymentLawyer.ca. And you also have access to that QR code to scan on your phone as well. Okay, mentioned phone call to wrap it up for this week. Lior, listen up. Here it comes.
Is there a maximum notice that a company can give you? Like if you've been with a company for 18 years, typically you'd be entitled to 18 weeks. Can they turn around and say, I'm giving you an 18 weeks notice and let you go? And I guess within that notice period, are they still able to terminate you if your performance falls?
So yes, an employer can give you notice instead of paying you severance, and they have to keep all terms of employment the same during that notice period. In my experience though, when an employer gives you notice, it's not enough, and they have to make up the difference by way of severance. Let's go back once more to the severance calculator and see how much notice or severance this person should have gotten. We're going to go to EmploymentLawyer.ca. After 18 years, you see there he got 18 weeks notice. It should have been 18 to 24 months. Now those 18 weeks count towards the 24 months. He's owed much more. That's exactly why you use the severance calculator.
Again, PocketEmploymentLawyer.ca is where you find that. You can use it freely and anonymously anytime as well. Good stuff, Lior. Always love wrapping the show with a good phone call. And I'll give out some last second information here before we slide out the door. To reach Lior anytime, 1-855-821-5900. Email is ask@EmploymentLawyer.ca. Anything else, cp24.com/askalawyer. And we'll see you again next week. Thank you so much for joining us.